Vic Mullen, grumpy old Scotsman, how you all doing, folks? So yeah, the eyes are going to be a little bit red around the iris, and I'm kind of close, because I've usually got the light like this. Oh, that's way too bright. But with the eyes fixed, they're letting in a hell of a lot more light than they were doing over the past 3 or 4 months, and everything seems really bloody bright right now. So I've got things darkened down a bit. But in the hospital ward, there was, in the ophthalmologist, the ward to do with eye stuff, right? In that ward, there was 5 of us in there, including me. It was rather a quiet little ward, actually. It was very quiet. 2 of them were in their late 1960s. 2 of them were in their late 60s. There we go. 2 of them were in their late 60s. One of them was in their early 70s, and the other one was round about the same age as me. Now, the 2 oldest people, they were Conservative voters and supporters, but now they're lost because they don't like the current leader. They don't think Kemi Badenoch, who's the current leader of the Conservative Party, is up to the task of actually leading the Conservatives into another election victory. One of the other ones, was an SNP supporter who's also starting to falter because John Swinney is flip-flopping constantly about the independence thing. And the last one was a faltering Labour supporter who's looking at the current Labour Party and thinking, I don't recognise them as Labour anymore. The same thing I said way back at the end of Tony Blair's second term. That's when I stopped voting Labour. At the end of Tony Blair's second term, I switched to the SNP because at that time the SNP was still led by Alex Salmond, and they had a vision and a goal of what they wanted to do. This was before little Nicky Sturgeon stabbed Alex Salmond in the back and completely ruined what's left of the SNP. Now, there was an ongoing discussion going on. We started talking about politics. And I just came out and said it. I said, I'm a former Reform member. I ditched Reform because Farage was flip-flopping a little bit. And now I am a member of Advance UK. Ben Habib's party. They're not going to get anywhere near as many votes. Nowhere near the amount of votes that Reform's going to get. But it was the only option I had, because I'm not voting for Labour again, and I'm certainly not voting for the Conservatives. That's never going to happen. So we started talking, and the other people in there, they all had one thing in common. Every single one of them were voting, or had voted for, or are members of the current major political parties. And every single one of them are faltering. The Conservative people that were there were looking at the current Conservative Party and realising they do not have a hope in hell of winning the next election under Kemi Badenoch's leadership. Kemi Badenoch would make a brilliant Chancellor. She would make a brilliant Deputy Prime Minister. She would make a brilliant Foreign Secretary. She would make a brilliant Home Secretary, because she's got the organisational skills and the knowledge to do it. But she's not Prime Minister material. There's something missing from the way Kemi Badenoch reacts to Keir Starmer in Prime Minister's questions that doesn't make her Prime Ministerial. It just doesn't. But she would make a brilliant head of any of the major any of the major British departments. Home Secretary, Foreign Secretary, Secretary for the Treasury, in other words, the Chancellor. Any of the major... she would be brilliant as one of those, but just not as Prime Minister. Shut up, phone. Just not as Prime Minister. The SNP voter, who's now faltering about voting SNP, remembers the SNP like me under Alex Salmond, and then remembers how Nicola Sturgeon stabbed Alex Salmond in the back, and then basically John Swinney essentially got inserted into the leadership position of the SNP. Nobody likes John Swinney. John Swinney is a spineless, feckless twit who just doesn't understand a thing to do about politics, and any time he steps anywhere near the leadership role of the SNP, two things happen. Number one, they start losing votes. Number two, would you shut up, phone? Number two, some weird, unexplainable catastrophe happens to the SNP that causes them to collapse. And I think we're in stage 2 right now, because apparently there's a lot of news going on about John Swinney flip-flopping between, oh, we're going to have an independence vote. Oh, no, wait a minute. No, we're not going to have an independence vote. Oh, well, maybe we are going to flip-flop. Flip-flop. That's John Swinney's nickname. Flip-flop Swinney, because that's all he ever does. He flip-flops. And, yeah, all of them were sitting there as as supporters of the major old school parties. And then this broke. Let's bring you up. This is going to be bright. Oh, I should have wore sunglasses. But I would have worn them, but I can't find the damn things. Reform UK sweep to victory in local by-election held in East Cleveland. Reform UK has taken its first seat in Redcar in Cleveland Council after its candidate Craig Holmes topped polling in the Skelton East ward. A vacancy was created after Conservative councillor Andy Oliver stepped down. Councillor Holmes, an army veteran who served with the Royal Engineers, received 839 votes, 65% of the share. Labour's Norman MacLeod, 247 votes, 19% of the share. And Ms Craig, Conservative, 179 votes, 13% of the share, while Liberal Democrats, nobody cares about Liberal Democrats, wasted vote. New council member previously represented the Conservatives on the council but lost his seat in neighbouring Skelton West in 2023, later defecting to Reform UK. So, the guy's an ex-squaddy. He's basically an ex-squaddy, born and bred in that area. He ditched the Conservatives after realising the Conservative Party was essentially falling apart, and he jumped ship and joined Reform. Now, that news broke on Sky just as an afterthought while they were reporting the news. But here's the thing about local by-elections and local council elections. Reform has been winning hundreds of them. You don't see it in the news, though. You just don't see it in the news. They have been picking up Conservative stronghold Labour council, Conservative stronghold council seats. They have been picking up Labour stronghold council seats. They are even close, and this is what surprised me, they are even getting close to picking up more council seats up here in Scotland, where the SNP and Labour essentially have a chokehold on council seats up here in Scotland, especially the Scottish National Party. But again, the SNP have been slowly hemorrhaging supporters and hemorrhaging votes because of one person. Well, actually, two people. Little backstabby Nicky Sturgeon, but she's out the picture now, and more especially, John Swinney. Nobody likes John. Nobody likes John. He is the biggest flip-floppy person you will ever meet. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to support it. Oh, no, I'm not going to support it. Flip-flop Swinney. Flip-flop Swinney. Any time he gets close to the leadership or any kind of leadership power within the SNP collapse because he's useless. I love ranting about the SNP because I used to be a paid-up member of that lot for a decade. Sturgeon ruined the entire party. Ruined it. Little backstabby Nicky. Go on, Nicky, you little backstabber. Ruined the SNP. If the SNP had been left alone with Alex Salmond as its leader up until Alex Salmond's untimely death, the SNP would be a lot more better organised and a lot more better founded than they are right now. Sturgeon ruined the party. She completely ruined it, and Swinney's not helping much either. So, here we have Reform not only picking up council seats from Labour, they are literally hoovering up council seats from the Conservatives in both Labour strongholds and Conservative strongholds. And it was one of the Conservative guys that actually seen this news report. And he just went, well, there's another one gone, because he's been following it the same as me. He's been following the news about Reform UK, literally hoovering up council seats up and down the country. And yeah, he came to the same conclusion I did. The way that things are looking right now, with the hundreds and hundreds of council seat by-election wins that that Reform are quietly hoovering up in the background, that the mainstream media are not reporting on, that the mainstream press are not reporting on, because it's little local stuff, so you don't usually see it in the national press. Any political party, doesn't matter who the party is, any political party that's hoping to become the party that leads the country needs to have two things. One, a leader who can actually speak correctly, who can actually stand in front of a camera and actually talk to the camera, ignoring the cameras there and talking directly to the people looking at the TV. That's something Kemi Badenoch can't do. And that is something Keir Starmer doesn't even have the foggiest idea how to do it. You see Keir Starmer looking into a camera, he looks like a deer caught in headlights. Look at him. Next time you see him doing an interview or doing his little press stand thing at number 10 Downing Street with the podium, look at his eyes. He looks like a deer caught in headlights. Now, Kemi Badenoch, she would make a brilliant Chancellor, a brilliant Foreign Secretary, a brilliant Home Secretary, but she's not got that kick that you need to have to be a Prime Minister. That's why Conservatives are hemorrhaging votes and hemorrhaging councils left, right and centre. And that's why Farage is getting them. So we've got Nigel Farage. He can speak into a camera as if he's talking to you in person, looking through the camera to you. Thatcher had it. Blair had it. Cameron kind of had it. So did Boris Johnson, coming to think of it. They all had it. The major political players can look at a camera and look through the camera as if they're talking to you directly. Farage has that in abundance. But the second thing that any political party needs is a foundation. And that foundation is found in local councils. If you're going to run a country, any political party that wins, any political party that wins in a general election has to have at least over 30% of all council local seats. And guess what? Reform are heading to it. They're heading to it now. They are heading to it unless they've already got over 30%, but I don't think they quite have yet. From the last time I checked, I don't think they quite have, but they're heading there right now. As more and more of these local council by-elections pop up, either by councillors standing down because they're retiring, or standing down because of ill health, or standing down because they're just fed up with the job, it's usually Reform that are filling those council seats in. And even though Reform in a lot of cases has a minority amount of councillors in local councils, the fact that councillors are still being voted into that council means two things. It means that the Labour and Conservative coalition, or the Labour and Lib Dem coalition, because that's the way that's usually turned out. Liberal Democrats do very well in local council elections, but they do horribly in the general election. So you normally tend to find it's either a Labour Conservative joint coalition or a Labour and Lib Dem joint coalition, because there's no outright winning majority for a lot of the council seats in the UK right now. There's about 50 to 60 outright majority council seats, and all that the hundreds of other ones out there, they're all coalitions. But it means with a Reform UK candidate getting in there, they, as the Reform UK candidate who's not part of the joint coalition, will have not a veto vote, but they will have a spanner in the works. vote for local council elections. And that's exactly what's beginning to happen. It's exactly what's beginning to happen. It looks as if, with the local elections that are going on, as more and more people are throwing their vote towards reform, the tide has already started to turn at the local level. Much like it started to turn for the Liberal Democrats when they got something like 40 seats on the run up and after the Cameron first term election. They got a load of council seats. Reform are heading that way as well, but Reform are doing something that it's not a case of not a lot, that no minor, and they are a minor party, we need to remember here, they've only got 5 seats in Parliament, that no minor party have managed to do yet. They're almost, I think they're about 10 points away, but they're almost at a 100% track record at local council elections. They've lost a few, granted, but the majority of them they've won. And it's from Labour heartlands and Conservative heartlands. The discussion ended in the ward very early this morning when all of us were having a rather nice breakfast, courtesy of the NHS. But the conversation basically finished up with essentially all of us agreeing that in the next general election, if Reform keep up this percentage point, we're going to be looking at Nigel Farage as the next PM. But the big question remained that none of us could actually agree on: who's going to be the official opposition? Think about it. Not a lot of people have thought ahead 3 years from now, or maybe even earlier if the Labour Party completely collapsed. But let's say the Labour Party don't completely implode and the next election is actually in 3 years' time. So you've got Nigel Farage as Prime Minister. Who's going to be the opposition? Because if it's Labour that's the official opposition, that means the Conservatives are essentially out of any of the front benches. That's never happened before to the Conservative Party. Never happened before. The Conservative Party will basically become a third-tier minor party, and I don't think they will recover from that. Now, Nigel Farage becomes Prime Minister, and the Conservative Party are the official opposition, which I don't think will happen. They don't have the votes. That means that the Labour Party, a prime party, is now not in the front benches. They are now relegated to third-party minor politics. And I can guarantee you what will happen if that happens. If that happens, Conservatives as the opposition, Reform as the leading ruling party, and the Labour Party relegated to third or fourth place. That's it, the Labour Party's gone. It's over. It's over. They would never recover from that. The Conservatives may recover, but it'll take them a couple of decades if they got into third place with Labour as the opposition and Reform as the leading party. They could recover, but Labour wouldn't. They would die. Just gone. Labour's out. They're gone. And I never really thought of this. The fact remains, if Nigel Farage wins the next election, one of the two major parties, Labour or the Conservatives, will be relegated to third place. The Conservatives could probably survive that, but I don't think Labour could. I honestly don't. Anyway, that is it from me. As usual, I take Sundays off, so the next video is going to be on Monday evening. Have a good one, folks.